Hello, and welcome to the SharePoint Framework and Viva Connections bi-weekly sync. It is April 21st, 2022. I'm your host on this call, Patrick Rodgers, back again. We've got a great agenda for you this week. Latest updates on SharePoint Framework, some updates across the Patterns and Practices program, new community samples, our optional picture time and together mode, as well as 3 great demos from Derek on adaptive card design gallery, Fabio on using adaptive cards controls for the PnP control gallery and SPFx solutions, and Paolo from navigating cards in Viva Connections ACEs. So 3 great adaptive card-based demos coming up for you today. So excited to see that. But first, some updates across the program here. So as always, opportunities to participate in this call or the program all up. We would love to have you join our call to do a demo to show off the great work you are doing for your company or your customers. And to do so, please follow that link in the bottom right corner there, ak.ms/m365pnp/request/demo. And we would love to get you scheduled in for a demo. It might be a couple weeks, couple of months out, potentially, depending on how things are scheduled, at the current time. But we will definitely get you on a call and encourage you to reach out. I would love to have you be on the call and demo with us. As well, you can always contribute on GitHub across the many organizations that are involved in the open source at Microsoft, all of which mostly accept your issues, pull requests, and as well, a great way to help is to jump in with issues and questions others might have if you happen to have an answer for them. And as well, always welcome your feedback on everything we're doing in Patterns and Practices. How are these calls? How is our documentation? Where else can we help? And positive feedback is okay too. If you like something we're doing, perhaps we can do a little bit more of it. We have tons and tons of great content for you to review, all of which can be found by going to ak.ms/m365pnp. That link is on the far right of the screen. And there you will find links and descriptions to get you to our developer videos, which are topic-focused videos on how to perform various development tasks. So perhaps some authentication, setting up a web part, things like that. We've got community videos, which are going to be the recordings of all of our community calls. So this one and our other calls as well. So if you miss an episode or want to catch up on something you heard, you can always check those out on YouTube. Recordings are typically available about 24 hours after the given call. We have a ton of great open source organizations, PnP, Office Dev, Microsoft Graph, and SharePoint, all of which are open and welcome your participation, feedback, and ideas. So encourage you to get involved in all of the places that you are interested in. They're all very welcoming and all great places to jump in and get involved. We have a bunch of great sample galleries, all of which can be found from ak.ms/m365pnp, that main link again. And those are going to be team samples, SPFx web parts, SPFx ACEs, Power Platform samples, SPFx extensions, and list formatting samples. So great way to jumpstart your projects and find out ideas for how others have solved similar problems you might be facing in your tasks. Next up, bunches of links to developer community calls. Again, all of these can be found at ak.ms/m365pnp. And those are the Microsoft platform calls. That's the call on Tuesdays hosted by Microsoft folks, talking about the latest stuff on the platform. Adaptive cards calls, Microsoft Identity Platform, Office Add-ins, Power Apps, Microsoft Dev Community, and Viva Connections and SPFx. So certainly encourage you to check out, again, as many of those. And if you can't make them live, which is often tough with everybody's complex schedules, you can always catch them on the YouTube channel so you can not miss an episode of your favorite calls. Announcing as well the unified sample gallery. I think we first announced this last time, but this is a great way to find samples across many repositories. So without having to go find them yourself, this is a great way. It's got a searchable interface. Everything's categorized. Hugo actually walked me through this yesterday. Really exciting to see how easy it is. So we'll be working to add even more samples into this. It's a fantastic resource that can be found at ak.ms/m365/samples, and that is sourced from a bunch of different places, covering a bunch of different technologies. So really a really valuable place to check out, and really excited to see that start to grow and get even more content there for folks. I think yesterday when we looked, there's already over 1,000 samples listed in the gallery there. So a wonderful resource for the community to get started there. And then next Tuesday, we've got our Microsoft 365 platform call. It's on the 26th of April at 8 a.m. Pacific time. And that's the weekly call where Microsoft folks walk you through what the latest stuff from engineering is. And then we've got two demos or explanation or example call or whatever, we'll just call them demos from Devyanka and Michelle for about creating an app that extends across Teams, Outlook, and Office. And then we've got Waldeck and Alex talking about easily fixing errors in your SPFx projects with the CLI for Microsoft 365. Both of those are going to be very cool demos to see. I'm excited. The more and more we can get apps that cross the boundaries in M365, I think that's super valuable to both us and the community and everybody building solutions, because your solution can appear in so many more places so much easier than it is today. So an area that I love seeing improvements in, and I know it's going to be a great session next week on that. So I encourage you to join us next Tuesday, and as well, if you can't, the recording will always be available on the YouTube channel. And now I'm going to hand things over to David for sharing is caring.
Excellent. Thank you, Patrick. Well, friends, as you had mentioned, there are so many samples out there. Guess how they got there? By amazing contributors like yourself. We welcome anyone and everyone to contribute back to the community, but we understand that there may be times where some of those hurdles, like, I don't know, how do I do a pull request? What is a pull request? How do I get more involved? All these questions we want to answer for you, and we're going to do it in Sharing is Caring opportunities. These are sessions that are live, hands-on, safe space, not recorded. You can ask any and all questions, and we will walk you through a variety of topics. The session topics that you can see there are available, and they are live. We will do it together. So don't hesitate to take advantage of them, aka./sharing is caring, and they are all free and available to start scheduling for. And we also have an upcoming AMA specifically on Viva Connections extensibility, adaptive card extensions. This is happening next week. Don't hesitate. This is going to be with the engineering team. So this is a really fantastic opportunity to collaborate, ask questions live. It's a lot of fun because it's always just spontaneous questions, a lot of good conversation. A lot of amazing opportunities and features have even come from these AMAs. So don't hesitate to register. It is going to occur next Tuesday, directly after the platform call that Patrick had mentioned just previously. So register for it. We'll get you the link and we'll invite everyone to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Now, once you have contributed to our community, we want to celebrate and recognize all the amazing work that you're doing. So the recognition program is here to provide that celebration and recognition. It is absolutely free. It is powered by Credly. Yes, that same Credly that gives you those badges when you get a Microsoft certification. Our community badges sit right next to them. You're able to share them with clients and managers, show how involved you are, how you're making a difference in the community and in the industry. It is absolutely free. We do need you to opt in, aka.ms/M365PnP-recognition. You only need to do that once, and we'll track you from there going forward year after year. So don't hesitate to take advantage. We want to recognize and celebrate. Patrick, back to you.
Thanks, David, for those great updates. And now we're going to go over to Vesa for updates around the SharePoint framework.
Yay! So first of all, there's a new update on SharePoint Framework 1.15. So this is still in public preview, but this latest update, which came out 2 days ago, if I remember correctly, whenever I pushed the button. Anyway, we introduced the first version of the list form extensibility. So you can actually start building SharePoint framework-based list forms for editing views and new experiences. So this will be the first time ever that's actually possible and supported. Right now, we are actually missing a detailed tutorial on that. That is actually on me because all of the things on the table. But there's a video where we walk through the process on how to get started and how you walk through and create one of those components. So you can use that video, which is in the associated blog post, announcement blog post, and in our YouTube channel. This is just a quick update. Again, typical update on the pictures, on the usage. The growth is really, really good. We can see, of course, a typical dip in the Eastern time frame because that's always impacting the usage, which is understandable as people are having more time at home. Now, a quick update again on the roadmap side of the house. So like I said, the latest version of 1.15 preview was released this week. We will have one or two more preview releases on that one before it goes to GA. Current ETA is in end of June, so June 2022. So still some time on adjusting on things. We keep on introducing the new features as part of these preview releases as we get closer and closer to the GA version. The last point on the slide is also calling out something really cool, what we're also building, which is Microsoft Bot Framework-driven adaptive card extensions. So it's kind of a new dimension, which is going to be available in the Viva Connections sooner or later. That's more on that one as we will get something in preview. But that's on my side, and let's get back to Patrick.
Great, thanks, Vesa. Exciting stuff seeing 115 come together. Looking forward to that getting released with a ton of great updates there. And now we're going to go over to Julie for PnP.js client-side library updates.
Cool, thank you. So we did a release of version 3.2 on April 8th. That was a fairly sizable update. We had a ton of documentation updates. I've sort of listed it here as just general documentation updates. You can go to our changelog to see more details on those. We also did some the fix and doc update for using ESM modules in TypeScript solutions that output common JS module types. So that had been a sticking point for a few people getting to V3. So hopefully that solves some problems. There's a bunch of fixed bugs as well. Send email, get all children as ordered tree. The stale request digest issue and render list data as stream had some bugs. So those are all fixed. We added some stuff to the graph for get ID by site, trans and member of for user, installed apps for teams, and then some other doc updates. So there's a big release there. So feel free to check that out as soon as you can. And also just a reminder that any PRs that end up getting merged will show up in the nightly builds. So we're doing nightly builds every night, and you can check that out by doing an install with @pnp/sp@v3nightly --save, and that will add the nightly build. So if you have a fix, if you've submitted a bug, that fix has been merged in, you can check it out to make sure that it's working for you before the official release for the month. And then as always, follow us M365 PnP.js on Twitter. And if you have any issues, please submit them to our issues list. And so back to you, Patrick.
Awesome, good stuff. Thanks, Julie, for that. And updates for CLI for Microsoft 365. We got a new preview version 5.2 out with updates for SPFx project upgrade guidance. I think we're going to see a little bit of some of this a little bit later in the call here. Support for adding private Teams channels, managing Teams chat messages, managing Power Platform management apps, and that's a lot of management, and retrieving AAD sign-in information. You can always install the previews there with npm install-g @next, and you can always run the Docker containers, which is a really great capability to try things out easily with all the dependencies and everything set up and ready to go. So you can use the command line there, the Docker run command line there. And as well, you can follow up on the release notes at pnp.github.io/CLI.microsoft365/about/release-notes/#V520. So check that out. And as well, encourage you to follow them on Twitter, and the AK link down there at the bottom is a little shortened way to say the thing I just said. So certainly try out the CLI, and I'm looking forward to seeing the demo about the CLI here in just a few minutes. Then we've got the SPFx reusable controls. This is a set of two packages. The first is the React controls designed to be used in the body of your web parts or application customizers. And you've got the React property controls designed to be used in the editing pane of your web parts to give you a great out-of-the-box experience in both cases, integrated very tightly into your solutions and saving you a lot of time and energy having to build this kind of functionality on your own. So it's great to see these continue to evolve and get better with new variant theme provider controls. Seeing the Monaco editor in there is really exciting. Enhancements for multiple controls, as well as SPFx 114 support. SPFx 115 support will be coming soon, but 114 support for now is fantastic. And then we've got various other miscellaneous fixes, all of which can be found in the two respective release notes. So check out the reusable controls for your projects. And finally, Modern Search, ak.ms/pnp-search, building search experiences with flexible web parts. Version 4.6.1 is our April release there, so you can follow the link for all the information and see the release notes for all the fixes and new features. So I encourage you to upgrade as you can. And again, want to remind folks, the V3 branch of things is really in maintenance mode. Not a lot of work is happening there, and all the new features and work is in the V4 branch of things. So when you are able to work that into your planning, encourage you to upgrade to that V4 set of PnP Modern Search. It's a great new experience, a lot of great enhancements, and I think it'd be a valuable upgrade, and it's a good time to do so. And with that, we're going to go over to SPFx samples with Hugo.
Thank you. So we have lots of extensions and web part examples that are available for you to play with. So these are the updates. since the last time I presented, which was 2 calls ago. So we have the news ticker updated to SPFx 114. That's a news ticker extension that displays some news at the top of the page, and that was updated by Sudar-san. On the web part side, we have Nick Brown provided us with a new Fluent UI version 9 web part, which should start showing up on the sample gallery very shortly. Very cool sample, and it uses the theme provider as well. We have a new tab accordion and rich text content web part by Arun Kumar Perumal. We have an update by Christophe on the cherry pick content. Christophe created this web part a few weeks ago, and he's already submitted a fix for us, which is awesome. Milan Holmans has updated the birthday web part to upgrade it to SPFx 114. And Nader Hajebi has updated the dynamic scalable vector graphic, the SVG web part. It allows you to kind of update a SVG web part using property controls, which is very cool. And that's updated to fix some dependencies. This is one that's kind of cool because Nader noticed an issue with one of the dependencies, first created an issue to say, hey, can you update this for me? And then we just decided, you know what, I'm just going to do my own pull request. And that was his first contribution to the PnP SPFx web part repository. So thank you for that. Mike Homal has updated the tool web part to display the order of the web part. So now we have full control over like the section, the columns of the web part ordering. And the to-do client web part with the Vue.js was updated with replacing Node Sass to Sass. And the pages hierarchy by Nick Brown, we've added a tree view as well as a new web part called Group Members by Nick Brown as well, which, well, pretty much does what the name says. I just wanted to point out that over the last 2 weeks, we've processed over 172 pull requests across various updates and things like that, including security fixes. The one thing that we don't mention is we are constantly scanning the code and updating the code dependencies to make sure that we have the latest version of everything. But thank you for giving me so much hard work to do, because this is amazing to see. With that, let's pass it back to David to talk about ACEs.
Awesome. Thanks, Hugo. We have some incredible new demos for ACEs and samples for samples for ACEs this week as well. 2 OneDrive carousels from Guido Zambarda on image cards and base cards, allowing you to scroll through your OneDrive files, which are really, really cool. He's also got another one. He's going for the hat trick, recent files. It provides a counter and a view of those files. So very, very cool way to see a highlight, wonderful way to use the ACEs and provide that high level information and then being able to drill in. And then great minds think alike. There's another recent files by João Mendes on quick access. So it's nice to see multiple views on how you can utilize these tools and new resources within the SharePoint framework. Really cool, open for more contributions. Thank you all for all of the contributions you make. Patrick, back to you.
All right, with that, we're going to go to the optional picture time. Hopefully we can get through that fairly smoothly and over to the demos. We're a little bit behind, which is no big deal. So if you're interested in being on the optional picture time, fire up your cameras or camera. I don't know if you have multiple cameras.
And I'm gonna share my screen in a second. I'm just setting the together mode, 50 seats in the room. And was it Fabian who said on Tuesday, you just call it a room? Yes, this is actual room. We are all in the same room, right? So let me put on the camera if I can see it fit in still. I will put the recording on. We'll still have few seats in the room.
How did everybody get in my room?
Good question, Patrick. Let's do some hand waving, everybody. Thank you for joining once again. Awesome to see this many faces. We are close to 200 attendees again on this week on the community call. Thank you for being part of this community, and keep the feedback coming. We are building all of these capabilities for you. So thank you. Awesome stuff. Thanks, everybody. Let's go to the real stars of the day, to the demo side of the house.
I'm just going to hand it over to Derek. If you're ready to get started on your adaptive card design gallery demo, you can go ahead and take over the presentation. And
cool. All right, I'm next, I guess then.
You are next.
Okay, so I'm presenting today a project that I worked on that in conjunction with Microsoft to create an adaptive card extensions design gallery. And so a little bit about me, I'm Derek Cash-Peterson. I'm a principal architect at Simpraxis Consulting. We're a small consulting company based out of Boston, but with offices all over. I'm also on the PnP team, and I'm one of the co-maintainers of Learning Pathways and the SPFx ACEs repo. And I promise I'll get to processing those PRs really soon. Okay, so what are some of the goals of the project? Before I dive in and start showing it, the first thing we wanted to do was make sure that we provided examples to show visually appealing designs in the quick view. You know, a lot of them, especially when ACEs were first available, were very, very stark. They were black text, white background, a few icons. So we really wanted to up the design level game and provide some more, references for you to use in your designs. We also want to provide a demo-ready art of the possible sort of showcase piece so that folks can download something, get it up and running really simple, and show, your colleagues or your stakeholders what can be done with ACEs. It also is meant to serve as an example of how to pull in data, how to manipulate data using some of the built-in functions, sort of how to use sort of the out-of-the-box componentry that you already have in a better practice sort of way. And finally, we wanted to also provide an example of how to do localizations for strings and pull that data into the adaptive cards in the quick view, so not all the text is hard-coded into the JSON file. And finally, we wanted to provide an example of how to do deep linking from an adaptive card extension into Teams. So all of those things are sort of wrapped up in the work that I've been doing here. And so there's a couple of different components to the design gallery. The first is that it consists of 12 different ACEs in one solution. So when you download or you install it, you have the ability to get all 12 of them. They're all in there, and you can sort of pick and choose which ones you want to put on your dashboard. There's also a personal app, and the personal app is really there to serve two main goals. The first and foremost is to serve as that spot for that deep linking to go to. So you get to see when you click through from the ACEs into Teams, you get to see some sort of identifying information to indicate the content that got pushed through. And the other is about making sure that it serves as a gallery for you to show folks whether or not you're using the dashboard. It's also available as a free download from the Microsoft Store. It's no fuss installation. You can just go to the store, add it to your tenant, and the only thing you need to do would be synchronize it to Teams for the Teams application. But if that's not enough, if you want to tinker and you want to see how we did stuff, you can absolutely do that. The source code is available for you to get out of the reference repo. And so you can download it, see what functions I used, and see how I built the service layer and all those kinds of things. So you can take all of that and use it all on your own. All right, so let's see what this looks like. So the first thing that I wanted to show is the cards. So here's the dashboard. It's all set up. I sort of pre-filled it and put all 12 cards on at once. We've got an event schedule. We've got sort of benefits information, cafe menus, sort of a COVID booster thing, FAQs, team calendar, which is kind of fun, holiday timelines, all 12 just sort of sitting out there. So here's the event schedule. You can see here for this one, we did sort of a tabbed interface. So we've got sort of the line underneath, and you can see that sort of tab thing along with the calendar. We've got the benefits information, which is more news-based and provides clicking through to additional or deeper articles. We've got the cafe menu. This is showing sort of data manipulation, as well as, again, that tabbed interface. You can also show some details about the place. This is really meant to be art of the possible here. So, while this is a COVID booster registration, what it's really showing is how to do an image card with some form elements and some content. Here's the FAQs. The FAQ shows an open and close collapsible sections. So you can sort of take all of this stuff and use it, in your own context. Everybody's favorite image galleries. Here we've got the image gallery. It's specific to products, but you can see you can use this functionality to develop a carousel of different types of imagery. And here we have a team calendar. This one is kind of fun. It pulls in sort of out of office information, lets you click forward and back on the different calendars. All of this data in this is dynamic, so it takes current month plus one and populates some data in it. So if you put this in your tenant, it's not going to expire. Here's an inventory one. This one is showing conditional formatting, where all the green items are being used. We're using number values to set whether they're green or red. Here we've got a timeline. And then here we've got sort of some praise, sort of a list of people type card information here. So there's a lot of these in here. I'm going to pick one to just sort of go through and show a little bit more detail. And that's going to be the event schedule. So for this one, you can click on it. And like I showed before, it has the different calendar events for each day, but it's also got a register button at the bottom. And here you can have your users type their content in so they can register for this particular conference. You can do data validation as well. Data validation is in this example. And then when they accept the terms and condition and they click confirm, you get to review their information and then submit the registration. It's going to now click over to Teams. And then this is going to link over to the personal app. And the personal app shows the information over on the far left under Deep Link that you just put together, that you just passed over, as well as information about the different cards. There's also information specifically about adaptive cards, how to get more information, design guidelines, access to the sample code for this. There's also a link to the adaptive card designer. And what this does is, this is kind of cool. If you want to play with this on your own, if you click that link, it actually preloads the adaptive card designer with our content. And so you can sort of play with it. This is what it looks like if you don't click in and connect to it, to the personal app from an ACE. It's a listing of all of them. And so you can use this, with your key stakeholders to show them what's there, give them a little more information, and then let them explore for themselves. This is also great if you need to do a demo for somebody, whether it's a key stakeholder or whether it's a client or whatnot. I'm going to jump in and show the code in a minute, but what I really wanted to make sure is that everybody understood that there are two places to get this information. If you would like the source code for this, the link to the repo is simpinfo, ACE Design Gallery. I don't know, Bessa, if we have an AKA for that, but if not, we can make one. But if you want to download it from the App Store, you can go to your app catalog, go to the SharePoint store and search for Viva, and you'll see that little blue ACE playing card for the adaptive card design extension, and you can just add it to your tenant right then and there. Okay, so I got a couple more minutes. I'm going to show a little bit of code. So the one thing I want to say is, because this is demo and meant to be sort of evergreen for you to do your demos, we loaded all the data into JSON files. And this is an example of the data that I created. So, there's an array of cafeterias, and each cafeteria has their own type of cuisine. Each one of those cuisines has an ID, a name, a description, a food type, which is just a different value for me to help separate it out in the layout. And then a link to the image that we're going to use in that. That data is pulled in using the service layer. And so you can see I have a get cafeterias function here in my service layer, and it's pulling in the data, the data.json file. If you were going to use this for real, you can take the code and you would replace this part right here with a call to PnP.js or a call to SharePoint to get that data out of a list. Or if you had a system of record, you could have a call somewhere else, call a graph, whatever. You can customize that for yourself. in order to generate the link to get into Teams, we have to sort of do some massaging of the data. And I'm creating a custom object that I'm passing in, which is what we're doing right here on this line. And I have got a custom object that I've created. I'm passing in the name of the app so that all 12 of them can have a different, I know which one's getting clicked on. And then the link type. Not super relevant to this particular example, but you get the picture that you can sort of take this and push as much as you want through there. Okay, so then if we move over to the adaptive card extension, you can see on the init method, I'm making a call to that get cafeterias function, and then I'm assigning it into the state so that it's going to be available inside my quick view. So inside the quick view, and I've only got a couple more minutes, there's a couple of things I want to share specifically here. And the first is that localization piece. So what we ended up doing here is in the data interface, I created something called, a property called strings, and I assigned it a property of the adaptive card extension strings, which is exactly what you would use if you were in, your TS file and you would do strings dot whatever the name of your string is. I'm passing all of the strings into the JSON file so that you can access them in that way. And then obviously I'm passing in the different cafeterias and the different cuisines. Quickly going over to the quick view, let's scroll up to the top. You can see we're setting up the image here. This is one of those strings that we're doing here. So we're doing $root.strings.openStatus. I just started sort of prefixing all the stuff that was at the root with $root, because if you're in a loop, that can get sort of confusing. So I just wanted, from a consistency standpoint, I wanted to make sure that it was easy to, identify what was what. But this is going to pull the value from the localized string called openStatus. All right. The other thing that I wanted to show is that sort of toggle menu with the tabbed interface. So you can see here we're setting up the menu header, and then we've got the info header. So one's on, one's off. One's got the little divider line, the gray line underneath it, and one doesn't. We're using the select action. We're using action.toggle visibility. And so we're showing and hiding different elements of the card when that element is clicked. And so that way there's no, you don't really need to go back and do any work there. You just sort of click the button and things show or hide, and the visibility toggles. Okay, the other thing I wanted to show is one of the built-in functions. If you need to pass data to your adaptive card extension, to a loop, like if you're going to loop through something, you can use the $data property, and then you can put in your array. And in this instance, I had one array of cuisines, but I wanted to split it out into two different categories. And so I'm using the built-in function called where right here, and I'm passing in the array of cuisines. Now there's 10 things in there. All of them have a different food type. And so we're going to go in, and this particular column set is going to use a subset of the cuisine items where the food type is equal to special. So you don't need to do all of this processing on the back end. You may decide you want to, in your TS file, but you can also do it as well inside your quick view. And I think that's about it. So here we're looping through the data. We're showing the different cuisine, the name, the description. We're showing the arrow. And then this is where we're setting up the link that goes to Teams. So we're using with the select action, we're using the action.openURL type. And then we're passing in that link URL that we generated from the service layer when we did the original get. All right. And then here we're showing, again, we're passing in the column set to the column set, the data, the cuisines data, but this time we're just pulling the standard data, the standard food types, not the, not the special ones. And then the rest is sort of all the same, and those things just get shown and hidden depending on which tab you've selected. And that is what I have. So back to you, Patrick. or to the
Awesome
next
stuff.
presenter.
Thanks, Derek. Really excited to see that design gallery out there and encourage folks to check that out. Great resource to show people what is possible with adaptive cards and the kind of rich solutions you can build with them to help your users get more connected to your organizations and information. And with that, we're going to go over to Fabio for using adaptive cards from the PnP control gallery in SPFx solutions. Take it away.
Thank you, Patrick. Let me share my screen. So, hello everyone. In this very quickly session, I want to show you a control that I created for the PnP control gallery. And the control is the adaptive card host control. So let me explain the agenda. I want to show you the reason behind the implementation of this control, why I choose the adaptive card SDK to implement this control, just an introduction on how to use this control, and then I'll show you the code and different scenario on use the control. Then I'll show you the next steps of the implementation and some references. So first of all, why I create this control? Basically, you know that with ACEs, you are able to define the UI of this component by using the adaptive card and then by using the JSON files. But when you want to create a web part, you are not able at this moment to define the UI by using a declarative way. So basically, some customer ask me the same component, the same web parts, but with the identical functionality, but that would be differ for the UI part. So in some time, I tried different way to try to change the UI at runtime without recompile the solution. And this is the reason why I choose the adaptive card. So why I choose the adaptive card SDK? Because it's a great framework to create UI. It's supportable, it's open, it's easy to define and consume, is expressive, is pure declarative, and the good part that it's the automatically styled by the host application UX. So I create this control, this React control. It's already available inside the PnP React controls library. And basically, it's just one React control that have some properties. Almost all these properties are not required, but there are some properties like the card. It's required because I need to pass the template to render the adaptive card. And then some properties like the data, if you want to pass an object that contains the data that you want to apply by using the adaptive card template. And some callbacks to intercept the actions. For example, if you invoke a submit action, you are able to catch this action, or the error, if there are some error in the rendering of the card. And another good part is some callbacks to add custom elements and custom action, because adaptive card, it's open. If you want to create new elements, you are able, and then you have to register this new element or action inside the adaptive card SDK object. This control provides some callbacks to register new card element and new card action. And there are another callback to inject inside the host capability object of the adaptive card some custom properties. For example, if you want to pass a specific property to all the action or all two elements of the adaptive card that you want to render, you are able to use the host capability and then set your custom property with the proper value. Okay, this is the two different scenarios. The first one, it's on a web part that it's hosted inside on a SharePoint page. And by this control, we are able to use different kind of theme. For example, we are able to use the default theme applied to the site, or the theme applied to the specific section when the web part it's rendered. Or we can set different theme. For example, I implemented 3 themes, one for the default theme for themes, one for dark theme and for high contrast. Or if you want to use the same web part but host it as a themes tab, you are able to do. And automatically, so the web part are able to check the theme applied to the theme client and then pass the correct value to the control. So the good part you're able to see in this slide is that all the UI, it's rendered with the current theme, and the control, like the buttons or the actions or the input of the cards, are rendered by using the Fluent UI components. This is the very interesting feature, because if you try to use the default SDK directly inside your code, you are not able to render the Fluent UI components. It's rendered by using the standard UI of the action and element for adaptive card. But you know that exists a library implemented by Microsoft to render the input and actions by using the Fluent UI, but it's not working with the last version, 1.5 of the adaptive card. So basically, I create this control by rebuild from scratch all the controls, all the input, all the actions by using the latest version of the Fluent UI available for SharePoint Framework. So let me show just the demo and the code. So this is the demo of the web part. Basically, the web part that you can find inside the PnP web part examples. You are able to select the card that you want to render, just for example. Okay. And you are able to set the theme that you want to apply to the control. Okay. Inside the example, I implemented all the sample that I found inside the GitHub repository for adaptive card. And this is one of the most complex card in terms of UI that you can find for the examples. And you are able to see that all the UI will be rendered by using the correct theme. If I select SharePoint and I try to change the section background, you are able to see that the theme is completed changed. Okay, let me show you the code. We don't have too much time, but so this is the code, the component inside the React control for the web part. You have to set some, of course, property, for example, card, data if you want to pass data, theme if you have a theme and you want to pass directly to the control, the theme type if you don't want to pass the theme, but you want to change the type of theme that you want to use, for example, SharePoint, or Teams Dark, or Teams High Contrast, and on action invoke on errors. I want to show you on a card that contains some inputs. Okay, another one, it's this one, no, this one. Okay, all the inputs are the Fluent UI controls. And it's very simple to use. I created an PR, and I think that we will be available very soon by adding a new property to pass the context object of the web part. And if you pass this property, this context, the control automatically inject some of the context property inside the data object, and you will be able to use this context property directly inside the template of your card. So the control, basically, it's implemented by using the adaptive card SDK, and it's implemented by a function React component by using a lot of React hooks, like use reference or use context to save some informations. When we set some properties like the theme, there are some code to create the theme for theme default, dark, high contrast, or convert the theme that comes from the web part to full theme for the object. And there are a lot of code But the main part is this one. When we take the instance of the adaptive card reference, we can take the template that comes from the property card, inject some context property like the current theme and the context that come from the web part. We can expand this evaluation context inside the template of the card, and then at the end we are able to parse the card and then inject directly inside the div element of the component. All the card, it's positioned inside a theme provider to apply automatically inside this div all the theme that come from SharePoint Framework. I want to show you some codes again, and this is the part when I implement all the elements like the time input, or for example, inline actions or command text input, and all the elements and all the action are re-implemented by using the Fluent UI. So I think that I cover all the aspects of this control in a very quick way. We come back to the slides. So what is the next steps? I'm started to implement the designer. So basically, we want to have the same component, but to render the adaptive card designer as a React component, because I think that it's very important to have a designer inside your web part, because if you want to change the card at runtime, it's very cool to have a designer to edit the card at runtime. And then, with the help of Joao, we can think to create a new adaptive card elements, of course, targeted only for the JavaScript implementation of the SDK, maybe using the Fluent UI React or the web components, or Joao already started to implement that, some elements that use the Microsoft Graph Toolkit and then use directly inside the adaptive card host component, or maybe by using another libraries. So a few words about me. I'm the CEO, I'm Fabio Franzini, I'm the CEO of the AppV solution, and I'm Microsoft MVP in two categories, office development and business application. So you can find some links like my email, the Twitter account, or LinkedIn, or GitHub. If you want to contact me, please use this information. So there are some references. The adaptivecards.io, it's the entry point if you want to learn about the adaptive cards. The second link is the page of the adaptive card host control for the PnP React control library. And the last link is the repo that contains the web part that I show you in this demo. So for me, it's all. Thank you, and back to you, Patrick.
All right, awesome stuff. Thank you for that. Very cool techniques there with adaptive cards. Excited to see that get built and shown off. So thank you. And we'll move over quickly to Paolo for navigating cards in Viva Connections. Take it away, Paolo.
Yes, thank you, Patrick. And yes, we are going to talk about how we can manage navigation inside adaptive card extensions with SPFx. So first of all, just to set the context, when you develop an adaptive card extension, you can get access to some properties like the card navigator and the quick view navigator, together with the navigator property, which is available in the base adaptive card extension, so inside the main adaptive card extension component that you build. And through those components, you can manage the navigation across card views and quick views, so you can push pop cards in a stack. You can replace the currently selected card, or of course in the initialization code of your adaptive card, you can register the card that you want to render. So let me quickly move to the demo and let me show you a sample adaptive card that I've built just for the sake of explaining you how to navigate across cards. So it is not a real solution, but it is just a solution for the sake of explaining you how the navigation works. This is a card based on the basic image template. This is a card view, and just to give you an idea of how it works, there is a button. We can start the rendering of a quick view by clicking on the button, and here we can play with the replace or with the push
functionality of the Quick View Navigator. When you click the push, when you invoke the push method, you will push a new quick view or a new card view into a stack. And you can always go back. You can see here we have an arrow. We can go back just following the out-of-the-box UI, or we can do our own logic to go back in the stack. When you use the replace functionality, instead you will simply replace the currently selected quick view or card view without having the capability to go back, unless you do that manually, replacing again the card to go to another one. And then when you do that, playing with the navigation of quick views, for example, you can also then switch back to the card view rendering, like I can do right here. If I click on the Finish button, as you can see now, I updated the currently rendered card view in the rendering of my adaptive card extension. And we can also eventually, if needed, implement a logic from within a card view to restart or resume our wizard or our complex navigation logic inside the ACE that we are developing. And here you can see we are back and ready from scratch. So how did I implement this sample so that you can do the same in your own real-life solutions? Well, first of all, I created a bunch of card views and quick views. As you can see, I have the start card view, which is registered inside the onInit method together with all of the other card views and quick views. And as you can see here, we use the register method provided by the navigator properties. And we need to provide the ID as well as the instance of the card that we want to render. In the start card view, we simply have a button which will be of type quick view and which will show the initial quick view that we want to start from, which is the start quick view in my sample. And in this scenario, I also decided to provide the capability to start the same quick view also on card selection, so while clicking on the card. So when I go to the start quick view, that one is a really simple one from a code-based perspective, but in the JSON of the adaptive card, I have a couple of columns, a column on the left, as you probably remember, in which I have an image which will be the double chevron to allow the user to replace the current quick view with another one. And as you can see, this image has a select action option, which will be of type action.submit, and it will be with an ID of type replace, which is a custom one that I created. The same applies for the other button, which is again an image with a select action of type submit and with an ID of push. So inside the on action of my quick view, I can simply say, okay, if the action is the push one, let's go through the quick view navigator that I have and push a new card. If it is the replace one, instead we will call the replace method and we will provide the ID of the quick view that we want to use to replace the current one. When we do the push, then in the pushed quick view, we can easily do the pop to go back to the previous one by code, or we can push in the card navigator the end card to complete our navigation flow. In the replaced quick view, on the contrary, whenever we get the focus and the rendering of the current replaced quick view, we can go to the final card view again using the push method, or we can go back to the previous one using the replace, because we landed to this quick view card using the replace method, so we don't have a stack. And if we want to navigate back, we can't simply do a pop, but we need to replace the current quick view with another one, which could be again the starting one. It is up to you, and it is up to your navigation flow. But basically using these methods, push and pop or replace, you can play at the card navigator level or at the quick view navigator level and manage the navigation of your UI. Interesting to notice that when, for example, you switch from the quick view to the card view, you also need to remember to close the quick view in which you are, because you can only have one active card per time. And as such, when I, for example, click on the push and then on the finish button, first of all, I need to close the quick view that I'm rendering. And then I can push the next card to switch the context of the card view rendering. If we don't do that, if we will not do that, we will not see the new card popping up, because we will keep on having the quick view, which will be a kind of a foreground card in the UI of our rendering of the adaptive card extension. This is really useful whenever you want to create a complex UI with your adaptive card extensions, because you can easily switch across different options. Last but not least, I want to show you, and this will be the last part of my quick demo, how I managed to do the restart logic. So here you see I can click on the restart, I see a dialog, I can cancel or I can confirm and restart from scratch. Well, in the card buttons method of my card view, I'm providing an iCard button, which will be of type submit. I can eventually even provide custom arguments, custom parameters to the submit that will happen. I provide an ID to my button, and I can eventually, this is optional, provide a confirmation dialog with a title and a message, which is the one you saw. When I click on the button to confirm what I want to do, the onAction method will be triggered, and I can see the ID of the action and do whatever I want to do. And again, you can do a replace so that you can go back to the initial card, or you can even do a pop, because, for example, here we simply did a push of the card. So we can even do a pop to go back to the previous one. So just for the sake of completeness, here you can find some useful links, which are also in the chat right now. And that's all for me. So back to you, Patrick. Thank you.
Thank you, Paolo. Fantastic job to get through that topic really quickly, but it's a great topic. You can build a ton of rich experiences using those capabilities Paolo talked about there, the push, pop, and replace, giving you pretty much unlimited control over how your ACEs behave and allowing you to present lots of exciting scenarios to your users. I want to thank Derek, Fabio, and Paolo for the fantastic demos today. Great content. Look forward to seeing folks build on top of those capabilities and see what more you can produce there. I want to thank everybody for joining us here on the call. The recording will be available in about 24 hours on the YouTube channel. You can always follow us on Twitter at Microsoft 365 Dev, at M365PnP. Our next Viva Connections call will be next Thursday, May 5th. Same time, and the next general dev call will be next Thursday, April 28th at the same time. You can get a link to all of the community calls, recordings, and the rest of the content at aka.ms/M365PnP. Thank you all so very much for joining us again this week, and look forward to talking to you soon. Bye-bye.